Hi, I want to revisit this question about how to teach children to see beyond programming without becoming codependent, because it's a multifaceted learning that I actually just had like a hand-in-glove kind of learning about that I want to share with you, because I shared what I shared about it, and I want to share on the ground level about it, because the opportunity presented itself in my life, as the universe would have it, to have to address it and be on the ground about it. So rather than coming from my intellectual headspace about it, I want to share with you an on the ground perspective of this, how I particularly handle with children and or myself, seeing beyond the program and not being codependent about it, right? So my daughter came home and she sits in this quiet place with me right before she goes to bed, and we'll just sit in silence. And from that place, because she's not a very quiet person, she will remember what she's kept silent all day. And I appreciate that tender space with her, because she will share with me that which she hasn't allowed herself to explore throughout the day, but that was going on for her in her mind. And the last 2 nights, she said, "Mommy, I can tell that Leah doesn't like me," even though she won't admit that she doesn't like me. When I ask her if she wants to be friends, she says no. And then I'll say, "Well, why don't you like me?" And then she says, "I do like you." And she says, "I can feel her, the way that she looks at me. I can tell she doesn't want me to be friends with other kids. I can tell she doesn't like me." And I said something to her the first night along the lines of, you're probably right. You're probably right. She probably feels really uncomfortable around you, and she doesn't like you. And that has nothing to do with you. If you keep asking her if she wants to be friends with you and she says no, and she can't really give you an answer, that has nothing to do with you. And I want to get into this on a more animalistic level in a second. But I said to her, this girl doesn't have to like you. One of the things that I really want my daughter to focus on is really appreciating what she does have and what does give to her, because she is the kind of mind, I'm sure you can relate. I am also this mind that focuses on what's not there instead of what is there. Like, she'll have 4 friends on the playground who are playing with her, and she'll go, "Yeah, but that one girl doesn't want to play with me." And that is what will eat her alive at night before she goes to bed, right? She's focusing on that one thing that doesn't feel right in her day. So I try to get her to focus on the people who do want to play with her and the friends that she does have. So that's not easy when your mind is complex and wired to notice all of these things, right? So she says, Leah doesn't like me. I don't like it that she doesn't like me. I want her to like me. It makes me really sad, especially because she's nice to all of the other kids, right? And Haven says she's not mean, but she can feel her not like her. And the thing I said to her about, you don't have to change. And I want to put this on an animalistic level. This is not exactly what I said to her the first night, but I hope that she felt this. My dog, River, I had a Siberian Husky. She lived for 14 years, and she was the epitome of what you would call a bitch, right? But she was amazing. She was very loyal. She stayed close to home. I didn't have to put her on a leash. And I loved her because she was very also feline. For being a husky, who are notorious for running. She also taught me a great lesson about like chasing, just even energetically. What you chase will run. What you walk away from will come back. What you stand still for will stand still for you. She's a great teacher for many, many things, but she never had issues with other dogs, ever. She was always great with other dogs, but always we would walk by this one house and she was always fine with this dog. But one day the River was not on a leash, and she never left my side. So this was wildly out of character for her. She was probably like 9 years old at the time. This dog she'd walked by all these years, right? And the dog is on one of those invisible fences. Out of nowhere, they both see each other, and for whatever reason, they just went at it. That had never happened before, and it was very mutual. right? They very much understood, like, this is happening, and there was no words about it. And everybody was kind of freaking out, like yelling at the dogs for being dogs. And we didn't know what to do, but I walked away from that going, okay, and I know I'm not a canine, right? But I think that we are representations of nature. And one of the things that I wanted to say that I love about River is that she would never run up to a dog. She would never go hunt for things. She was feline in the way that I operate my life, in which she would defend her territory if something encroached upon her, or she would kill a rabbit if it was in the yard that was our yard, but she would never run across the street to go kill a rabbit, right? Like, she was a territorial being, and she would stick to her territory. She wasn't the average wolf who's like going out hunting and looking for things. So in that way, she was feline. So it was very out of character for her to run at this other animal. I'd never seen her do it. But the feeling that I had between them, it was so obvious it was mutual. That something about that moment, they were just like, okay, it's happening. I really tapped into my own inner animal and stopped trying to talk myself out and rationalize when my own inner animal says, ooh, my tail is like up right now. The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up right now. And I used to go, you need a reason for that. You need a rationalization for that. Like, what did this person ever do to you, right? And now I can go, ooh, I noticed that. My animal is saying something. And I don't need to tell my mind to override what my inner animal is saying, right? River was never unreasonable, ever. So whatever happened in that moment was so mutual that it was not just her behavior. So I'm bringing this up because the second night, then my daughter brings this up again, and I say, honey, to me, you're a rainbow. And there are going to be people who will not stop to look at a rainbow, but there are going to be people who will pull over on a major highway and stop and look at a rainbow. And the people who don't look, that's fine. You get to just keep being a rainbow. And what I'm really saying to her is, when you feel somebody's projection, and I am a very sensitive person to projection, so I'm going to talk about what happened this morning in a second, but when you feel somebody's projection overlay your connection to them, and they make that real, and you make that projection real, and you start to act upon that projection. In her case, okay, Leah doesn't like me. Maybe I should be more quiet. Maybe I should be more something that she likes. Maybe I should like what she likes. Acquiescing to defend yourself of the projection creates an authenticity, right? So, and that's often what codependents do. We acquiesce, and then, or there's also this rebellion that can happen to the projection. And even if you are rebelling against the projection, you are tied to the projection, whether you're acquiescing or rebelling. The projection that they are projecting upon you is the thing, it's the veil, it's the filter in which you're living with that connection in your life, specifically to that connection. So what I want my daughter to understand is that, and obviously we're not, canines, but she can see that that girl has her feathers or ruffled, or has her hair stand on the back of her head in the presence of my daughter, right? And my daughter's so sweet. She's like, I don't know what I did to make her not like me. I don't understand why. She's like, she can feel that way about her. And I just want my daughter to know she doesn't have to tuck her tail just because somebody's feathers or ruffled or somebody's hair is standing on the back of their neck in her presence. She doesn't have to tuck her tail. And she also doesn't have to argue with them or fight with them or rebel against the projection. My daughter's doing the right thing, right? She's coming home and she's saying, this is uncomfortable. I don't like this. So this morning, I get a taste of my own medicine, right? Because I'm dealing with my daughter go through this, which is, I am a founding member of her school. So I didn't actually send her. Our school was not my top pick because of the woman in the entry of the school, when I went to say, hey, I'm like super excited to get an application to bring my kid here, she was like, well, you can't have one until you come to open house to learn about the school. And I was like, I'm a founding member. I like know everything about the school. I know I want to send her here. And she's like, well, I can't give you one until you come to the open house. So I'm like, okay, following the rules, coming to the open house. I go to the open house. I have a crying baby on me, another like fidgety toddler, my teenage daughter's with me. And we're sitting through this whole demonstration that I used to give, right, at open houses. Like, I know about this school. I founded it. I worked here. Like, I know about this. So my kid's fidgety, and I see this head lady give this guy an application, and he's sitting there filling it out. And so I'm like, okay, it's the middle of this thing. She's handing out applications. I'm going to go get one. I'm going to leave. I walk over and I say, hey, can I have an application? And she says, no, you have to wait till the presentation's over. And I looked at her, and this was like her vibe. The second she saw me, she didn't like me, right? She held out for her own animalistic reasons, I suppose. That's fine. I don't need to override her consciousness. I don't need to figure out why she doesn't like me, mentally speaking. Don't care. It's obvious her inner animal did not like me. And that's fine, but this is also my turf, right? Like, I don't do well as a caged animal. So, and I'm not very good at being fake. Like, I'm actually horrible at it. Chris is always like, could you just be fake? And I'm kind to people, but I will not pretend to be like nice. I'm not going to go out of my way to be nice to somebody that is obvious that I don't like, right? Or that doesn't like me. And I no longer placate people that don't like me. I also don't hate them. But this morning, so this whole thing happened. She didn't give it to me. And I say, I look at like the chick who I used to work with and who is now the CEO. And I say, can you please tell this chick to give me one of these applications? And I'm like, this dude is filling it out right in front of me. You handed this dude the thing that you're literally telling me I can't have. So she just wanted to hold out. So this morning I go in. We made the decision after I talked to a whole bunch of other people in the community to send her, but it's been, a year and a half since that happened. I did write a letter saying, as a founding member, like, this was a horrible initiation to the school. If I was a regular parent, this image, like the way that I felt was so uninviting. It was crazy. I could not, I'm a founding member. I love this school, and I'm not sending my kid here because of that. If that is what this became, that is not what I'm signing up for my kids. So, we made the decision to send her, and she's actually doing really well, but it was that vibe I didn't want her to have. And it's that vibe that she's coming home with. And it's that vibe I walked into. I said, if it's that crazy vibe at the top, like, that's got to be happening elsewhere. That's why I didn't want to send her here. But she's having a great time. And in all, I keep saying, just focus on you're there for school. But she is like I want all of these connections, and, we have to be in really deep. So she actually feels very alone at school because most of the kids are there to learn, or they already have established friends. And she is so, even though people want to play with her, she wants to be like BFFs forevermore and like have this sense of loyalty to them. So she feels like her friendships that she wants are not as deep as she thinks friendship should be. I'm sure you get it, right? So when I walk in this morning to go to this morning meeting I would have run that morning meeting in the beginning of our school, right? And now I have to sign in, and this chick, Chris, said to me, I didn't even look at her because I'm not good at being fake. And a normal person probably would have been like, oh, what do I do here? Good morning. Like, whatever. Chris said, I've never seen anybody look at somebody like they literally wanted them to get in a car accident and die in that moment, the way that chick looked at you. So, of course, I want to come home and hash it out like my daughter would. Like, what did I do? Like, why is that even happening, right? But I allow my own inner animal to lead that, and her inner animal. She don't have to like me, right? And the interesting thing about seeing people beyond the program, this is the catch, right? Because sometimes you can see them beyond their own program when they're on their turf. Energetically speaking, it's easier to see them beyond their program because they stay there. You can see the program, you can see that the program is the veil, and then you could, see them beyond it. But if you are a person who has a nervous system like mine, who is suggestible, that's why it's very important what you watch, what you don't watch, what you eat, everything has an influence on the suggestibility of what your thoughts are. If somebody is so self-unaware and their projection, see, the interesting thing is I can literally tell you what this chick thinks I am. Right? She overlays me with a veil of her own projection of what I am. And again, my old self would have been like, I'm either going to rebel against her and like have a thing or two to do about this, or I'm going to acquiesce and be like, good morning, how are you? Blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, like in the Golden Compass, our little, spirit animals are on the ground fighting. I would rather have consistent images of we're fighting up top and on the bottom, right? Like it's even across the board instead of, hello, we're being really nice to each other while our inner animals are like killing each other on the floor right now. I like things to be what they actually are instead of talking myself out of what they actually are constantly. So, my point in this is I'm aware of what she thinks I am, because it is hard to see somebody in their program when they're spewing their program onto you, and then it becomes the projection that they project that you are, instead of you being projective of what you actually are. And this is where it can be difficult, right? Because in those moments, I go, ooh, she wants me to tuck my tail. Okay, I have to like acquiesce even my own projection a little bit, because I'm noticing what she wants, right? And that like does something to my skin that makes me go, but she wants me to do something that's actually not in my benefit. So now my feathers are ruffled, so to speak. Now my skin is standing up. And I would, there's a part of me that wants to have this dialogue, this inner dialogue of going, why does she not like me? Why does she think this? Why does she blah, 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 blah? She is overlaying me with her own program. And I actually think that she's a person who is so self-unaware she would never. And I'm still intrigued that people don't understand that they show themselves, right? Like people speak about themselves and tell you a lot of information about themselves. So there's something about the way that this chick sees me that I know that she sees everybody that she thinks is just like me. And she has no idea who I am, right? But she has a projection of what I am, and she sticks to it. And that can be sticky, right? That's when it gets hard to go, okay, how do I see her and keep her over there, right? Because it gets sticky when you go, okay, how do I not be codependent? How do I see somebody beyond their programming when their program is getting into me? I can't get beyond it because it's in me, right? So my caution in this, right? What I want to say about this is that if you're a person suggestible to projection, and you are aware that somebody has a projection of you, and it is the veil between that connection with them, and you go home and you wrap yourself in a cloak of it, right? And you're wrapping yourself in a cloak going, does this fit? Am I defending this? Should I take this off? Like either way, it's what they want you to feel. You can take off that projection and solely let it be in the body. You can solely let it be, this person doesn't like me. I feel that. I'm not going to make it mean anything about the projection that they're projecting onto me. I'm also just not going to tuck my tail. But when you put it in, when you take it out of, because some people are so obvious that you're like, oh my God, I can see what you think I am, right? I'm like, you don't need to say a word to tell me what you're thinking of me right now. And then of course my projection is that this person's, projecting and is not self-aware and blah, 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 right? Because she's in my lane. She's up in my stuff with her projection. It's so obvious. So I'm going to let my inner animal know that she's not a safe person. And I'm going to let it be that. Instead of go home, put on this cloak of her projection, go, am I the thing that she thinks I am? Oh my God, what if I am? And this is only people who've been narcissistically abused your whole life, who are told what you are, right? And then you go, oh, am I that? Am I that? And then you're always looking for somebody to tell you who you are, which is a problem because it's people like that don't actually care about you, that you'll believe because it's more charged than people who might care about you, right? So I used to, and I don't want my daughter to do this. I don't want her to sit around and go, okay, well, her projection is this, and I can feel that. So let me just move over here so I'm not in the field of her projection. Instead of going, I am going to be a, wolf in this pack too, whether you like it or not. That's how it is. I'm here, right? I'm not going to tuck my tail for you. And I also, as one of the things that I appreciate about the way that my energy works and the way that my cycle works and the way that certain animals work is like, I would, again, it's like river. I would never step onto somebody else's territory. But if you cage me or you put me in a corner, I'm going to come out in my territory, right? Like I will, when it comes to like, I will never come out and be like, I want to project onto you and get into you and like make you feel like this, blah, blah, blah. But if somebody comes in at me like that, and I have to also do this in my inner mind now, I have to know it is okay to say, this chick's trying to come in. And what I do, and hopefully this will be worth millions of dollars to you in this moment, is I will say swell to myself. When I notice that somebody wants me to tuck my tail, and I know that they're doing it not because they're uncomfortable with something that is legitimately like triggering for them, but because they want to see me like cower, I am done with that thing. I'm done doing that thing in my life. And honestly, I never really freaking did it in the first place. I didn't even do it when I was a kid. That's why I got hit so much, right? Like, no, I'm not. But the thing is, I would do it in my mind. And I work with a lot of people who will do the right thing, but then they'll take that cloak home, right? They'll defend themselves to some degree, or they'll do the action the way that they wish they would have done it. But then they'll take that veil home and go, am I this thing? Was it horrible? Is she right? Blah, 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 right? So there's a part of psychology that my older kids used to say, like, you're always trying to be a therapist. I'd be like, no, that's not true. But like, there's certain parts of certain parents, and I know that a lot of people are trying really hard, but they talk too much, in the sense that like some parents, my mom, if I would have came home and said kids don't like my mom, I would have been like, well, what are you doing wrong? Right? Like it would have definitely been my fault immediately. They probably don't like you because you fart in class and you talk too much, or you don't talk enough, or blah. There would have been something, right? And other people would be like, well, honey, what can you do to blah, 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 maybe blah, blah, blah. And I say, okay, let her not like you. You don't have to play with her. Just acknowledge with your body that way. Like my daughter's like, I can feel it, and I know she can because she's mine, right? I tell her, honor that feeling. Don't try to override that feeling. Let that feeling actually let things be what it is, instead of trying to make excuses and going, am I this? Am I that? Is she this? Is she that? Just let that feeling guide you. And if that feeling says she doesn't want to be around you, don't go around her. Don't try not to go around her if you're playing on the playground. But if she doesn't want to be around you, because my daughter is the person who'd be like, I don't understand why you don't want to be around me. And this was me as a kid with my mom. Please let me help you. How can I serve you? Please, blah, 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 right? And I just tell her it's okay if this person doesn't like you. It gets more dangerous when the person who doesn't like you is your parent, right? I wouldn't be saying it if she was having this conversation with me about her father. I'd be having a radically different conversation. But when it comes to like living in society and being a pack animal, and knowing that you are a suggestible, downloadable animal, and that you have a nervous system that is imprintable both ways, right? You could take that imprint and go, ooh, tuck the tail, quick, quick, she's coming in. Or you could take the imprint and go, swell, don't let her in, don't let her in. She ain't coming in. I don't need to carry her home with me. I don't need to put on that projection because that's her veil that she sees the world of me's through. I don't need to do that. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that, you know, our animals teach us a lot about being one. And if you think you're not an animal, I mean, it's a pretty intense assumption to make that we're not animals, because indeed, you know, we don't operate that much differently than them, if we're honest. So, and I think that changes chapters of your life. You adopt different animal imprints and become different things. But yeah, if River taught me anything, it's that animalistic instincts. And, you know, it is said that we're 90% body language. Our animalistic instincts are what is running the show anyway. And most people try to talk themselves out of it constantly, instead of just let things be what they are, right? So I just tell my daughter, if this kid doesn't like you, you don't have to like this kid. Like, just don't, you don't have to not like her, but just don't try to like her, because that's the savior part, right? Like, that's what the codependent will do. She doesn't like me, she must be hurting. Let me go save her, while the codependent is hurting because the person doesn't like them, right? No. Over it. All right, this was quite long, but I hope helpful. Bye.